Hey, good morning, guys. It's Donald DeMary. We're here to bring you your morning weather, water, and trail chatter report. And Mary's going to start off with the water and weather, and then we have some other news about rescues, and we're going to talk about cairns today. So we've gathered some information, and we're going to discuss them today. So let's do this, man. All right, Mary, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Donald.
Yes.
All right, good morning, everyone. It is a gorgeous 64 degrees out this morning in Blairsville. It is cloudy. We're looking at a high of 79 today with partly cloudy skies during the morning, giving way to a few showers later on this afternoon. Winds will be 5 to 10 miles per hour, and we have a 30% chance of rain. Tonight, 56 degrees for a low, mostly clear. A stray shower or thunderstorm is possible, and the winds will be light and variable. On Blood Mountain today, we're looking at a high of 72 degrees with some patchy fog between 7 and 9 a.m., and then showers and thunderstorms are likely. There is some sun in the forecast and 5-mile-per-hour winds with a 60% chance of rain. Tonight, 56, slight chance of showers and thunderstorms before 7 p.m., then mostly clear. 5 to 10 mile per hour winds with a 20% chance of rain. Water's good on the trail right now. We've had a lot of rain. So make sure, though, you're still topping off the Hawk Mountain Shelter as you hike north. Your next water opportunity in 6.2 miles will be Justice Creek. So that'll get you through to that. And then top off at Slaughter Creek before you climb Blood Mountain. Blood does not have any water. Neal to Hog Pen Gap is dry, so get enough water coming out of Neal Gap. Hog Pen Gap does have water if you follow that blue blaze all the way down to the end. And then from Dix Creek Gap all the way to Fontana Dam, water is there. So you have more opportunities than not for water. Let's remember to be cautious for snakes, and remember the copperhead nest that's in the group of boulders on top of Cow Rock, 5 miles north of Neal Gap. And then I apologize, US 441 Newfound Gap Road is closed for repairs in Tennessee from Sugarlands to Newfound Gap. North Carolina side from Cherokee to Newfound Gap is open, and they're projecting completion of the repairs for the beginning of October. So let's hope so. It's going to be leaf peeping season, and we want to make sure that hopefully everybody gets to flow smoothly and go see the beautiful colors out and about everywhere. All right. Also in the Great Smoky Mountain National Park, bear closures and warnings. All the trails are open. The closed shelters are Kephart Prong, and then Icewater Springs. Icewater Springs is on the Appalachian Trail. Closed campsites are 23, 96, 49, 83, and 84. And then the warnings for bears. Charlie's Bunyan, Trillium Gap Trail, Ramsey Cascades Trail, Bradley Fork Trail, Joyce Sluice Gap, and Kephart Prong Trail. And then Russell Field Shelter has warnings, and Campsite 113. Let's remember, whether we're in the Smokies or whatever trail or area we are outdoors, doing whatever it is, let's leave no trace. Let's properly store our food and take out our garbage that we have made, using our products while we're out there. That way we leave no trace and make it a safer place for everyone. Donald, I'm going to turn it over to you now. You can talk about some of the stuff we have going on.
Okay, sweet, man. All right, let's see what we have going on today. So, a rescue in Smith County, Tennessee on Saturday morning. First responders worked together to rescue a woman with a possible broken leg from a hiking trail. The call came in around 11:15 a.m. A woman had fallen on the Bear Walker hiking trail and Defeated Creek campground, and she was about a quarter mile from the entrance. The trail at the top of the hill, Smith County Emergency Medical worked with Smith County Rescue Squad and helped put the woman into a Stokes basket, a type of stretcher that is suitable for uneven terrain like a hiking trail, and carried her down the hill. After carrying her downhill, she was transported to a nearby ambulance to Riverview Regional Medical Hospital for further evaluation and treatment. So we have another rescue in Colorado. On Saturday, the Colorado Springs Fire Department High Angle Rescue Team responded to a call for help from the Garden of Gods. The fire department says they found the injured hiker along the Scotsman Trail. It is a favorite moderate loop trail through the park. No further info is available. Now let's move on to the cairns. All right, let's see what Mary got for us. All right, and I've got some stuff that I've collected also on the internet, like questions that people have, and then answers for those people, and then just what people think.
I think it's a lot of good information.
All right, sweet. All right, so let's start with cairns. What are cairns? A trail marker. A cairn is a man-made pile of stone used as a marker or memorial, such as a boundary or landmark, or as a burial mound. In national parks and other outdoor areas, rock cairns are used by park staff to mark the correct path for hikers, especially where the trail is not obvious. Memorial cairns can be erected to commemorate a person, event, or historical site. As a burial mound, ancient tombs historically cairns were built as burial monuments or sepulchral monuments over graves. Spiritual significance. Some cultures view cairns as symbols of peace, grounding, and gratitude, with each stone representing an intention or prayer. Leave no trace principles. When hiking, it is important to avoid disturbing or adding the cairns. Moving rocks can disrupt the delicate ecosystems and potentially cause confusion or disorientation for other hikers. Building cairns can go against the leave no trace principle of hiking, as it can disturb the environment and potentially harm local wildlife, according to the National Park Service. Arctic indigenous peoples such as the Inuit built them to communicate vital information about travel, hunting, and safety. In the 18th and 19th centuries, cairns were sometimes used to mark property lines in newly settled areas. All right, we've got some cons. While the former mentioned reasons mentioned in favor of building cairns and the reasons for them are historic and sanctioned,
Specific, sanctioned, and maintained trails. I'm sorry, I wrote that in a funny way.
are historic and specific to sanctioned and maintained trails, building your own cairns in national parks and other wilderness areas is harmful and is against leave no trace principles. It creates confusion and safety hazards. Unofficial cairns can mislead hikers off the path into dangerous or fragile areas. Park rangers must spend time and resources to dismantle them. It harms the ecosystem. Moving rocks disturbs the micro-ecosystem underneath, displacing the insects, reptiles, and plants that live there. This can also worsen erosion by exposing fragile soil. It distracts from natural beauty. When many visitors build rock stacks, it distracts from the wild and natural appearance of the landscape, leaving in a human mark on the wilderness setting. Goes back to leave no trace.
Mm-hmm.
Cairns damages cultural heritage. In some regions, ancient, culturally significant cairns exist. A new cairn might unintentionally damage a historical site or be mistaken for one, causing confusion. What cairns are for? 1. Navigation. 2. Safety. 3. Marking. Trails with minimal disruption to the natural environment, helping to avoid the need for unnatural and expensive signage along trails. What cairns are not for? 1. Aesthetics. 2. Competition to see who can build a taller cairn. 3. Having a seat for a picnic. 4. Hiding emergency gear. Generally, rock cairns along trails and in the backcountry should only be made by park rangers, trail maintenance volunteers, or trail creators. It should be noted that moving rocks in national parks could be considered illegal since it disrupts the natural state of the ecosystem. Rocks can host algae and other organisms, and their removal can disturb soil and harm the ecosystem. Park-specific rules. Some national parks like Yosemite consider unauthorized rock stacking to be a negative human impact and permit or encourage visitors to dismantle such structures before you go. Check with the local parkland management agency for their specific policy on cairns because they differ from park to park. Removing stones from the rivers and waterways to create a cairn can be destructive to water life. This disrupts the entire ecosystem. In conclusion, building new cairns is not a positive action to do, and before destroying the ones that exist, be sure to check with officials in the areas you're visiting, as some allow this and others do not.
And as far as like the riverways and the streams and brooks, I read further into it, and it talks about, fish can attach eggs, frogs can attach eggs, different creatures, like you get your insects, and it was talking about if you carry those rocks out of the water, they're coming with it, and now suddenly they're drying up and dying because they're out of their environment. So there's a lot of reasons not to do it, and I personally, I'm not going to be building any. I'm also not going to be knocking any down, because you never know which ones should be knocked down or not, because being that it can be a trail marker, I don't want to be the person causing someone to get lost.
Right, dude, right, yes. Definitely, dude. And so, this is from the Adirondack Explorer, and a dude wrote this named Phil Brown, and so he's a hiker. And so, let's start it like this. When I hiked Jay Mountain for the first time many years ago, I was struck by the size and craftsmanship of the cairns I saw along the ridge. Some of them were nearly as tall as me. At the time, I thought they were cool. Now I'm not so sure. Since that hike up Jay, I've learned that not everyone appreciates cairns. Critics say that the cairn building has gotten out of hand. Once used to mark the way of cairns, nowadays are often seen as monuments to the ego, a blight on a wild landscape. Or as a blight on a wild landscape. The Ausable River Association contends that cairns built for personal reasons violate leave no trace principles. Recently, visitors to the Adirondacks have taken to stacking rocks along our Adirondack trails or waterways as creative art form or for meditation. Often they build the rock stack, snap a few pics for Instagram, and leave. To some, these signs left upon the landscape are the same as graffiti carved into a tree. Rocks removed from the stream, for example, can disturb the habitat of the fish, salamanders, and other aquatic creatures, like we were saying over here, man. And Mary was just saying it. It does. There's no reason to build cairns in streams or remove the rocks from streams. That's just my opinion now. When I hiked from the Garden Big Slide last year, I passed a giant pile of rocks enveloping a base at a tree. It served no purpose whatsoever, and I doubt it did the tree any good. What was the point? The controversy is not limited to the Adirondacks. I was reminded on two different hikes in New England. The first was Acadia National Park outside Bar Harbor on the coast of Maine. My girlfriend Carol and I spent a gorgeous day hiking to 6 small summits. That sounds like a lot, but the total elevation gain was only 1,500 feet. Since the summits were bald, the trail was often marked by cairns. This struck me as appropriate. I'd rather see cairns than paint blazes on the bedrock. And so Acadia National Park actually allows this. So that's how they mark the trails there. But the folks running Acadia do not allow just anyone to build cairns. Several times a week we saw park signs warning hikers that adding or removing rocks from the cairns can cause soil erosion, damage plants, and degrade the landscape. All the cairns we saw on our hike have followed the same basic design. The 2 columns or one or two rocks each held up a lintel or horizontal stone with a small rock atop the lintel. Picture the trilithons, the pie-shaped stone structures at Stonehenge, but much smaller and squatter. These are known as Bates cairns, named after the originator Waldron Bates, who chaired the path committee of the Bar Harbor Village Improvement Association in the early 1900s. Acadia National Park is carrying on the traditions of the Bates cairns, which is another reason officials don't want hikers messing with the stones or building them. A week later, Carol and I and other family members hiked Mount Monadnock in southern New Hampshire, where we saw huge stacks of rocks similar to those I've seen on Jay Mountain and elsewhere in the Adirondacks. These were a far cry from the Hundle Bates cairns we saw in Acadia. Nevertheless, the cairn building is not encouraged on Monadnock either. On our way to the summit, we passed a sign saying, "Follow cairns, don't build them." In the Adirondack Forest Preserve, it's illegal to build a cairn without a permit unless you work for the State Department of Environmental Conservation. I've never heard of anyone being prosecuted for building a cairn, though, and I bet most hikers are unaware of the regulations. The Waterman Fund paid for the sign at the Cascade Mountain Trailhead, discouraging hikers from the cairn buildings. Perhaps it's time for a deck to follow the examples of Cadia and Monadnock and post similar signs at strategic trailheads, especially those in the High Peaks region. The other day I climbed Roaring Brook Falls near St. Hubert's with a summertime employee of the Adirondack Mountain Club. When we reached the top, we saw a small cairn. It served no purpose. My young companion, aged 19, was annoyed and scattered the stones. What do you think of cairns? Are they a delight, a blight? Should hikers destroy unnecessary cairns? So, Tom Woodman, I guess, wrote this years ago, and it's Park Perspective, Zen, and the Art of Cairns. This was written in August 24th of 2009. So Tom Woodman consider the cairn a pile of rocks for the hiker. These are usually pretty simple constructs. Stones placed at intervals to show the best route across an open terrain. They are balanced and arranged just enough to make clear that they are man-made guideposts, not accidental heaps. Many summits boast slightly grander stacks celebrating our arrival on the top, but even these, in most cases, are architecturally modest cones or columns. Humble indeed are these piles of rocks, wouldn't you think, utilitarian and hawk? But cairns have unseen depths. Though the word is Gaelic in origin, the practice of arranging stones in landscapes seems to have occurred pretty much in any culture that could lay its hands on rocks, and the stacks of stones served as many functions beyond marking hiking routes. Some cultures use them as memorials to the dead, others as astronomical aids. They can mark property lines or sites of important events. Even the simple trail marking of cairns embody values worth reflecting on. We place our trust in them and whoever stacked them as we scramble from one to the other. Maybe we can feel a sense of community and solidarity with those who came before us. Surely, if through mistake or mischief a set of cairns would lead us over a cliff, someone would have set things right by the time we got there. We look out for each other. A warning: once you begin contemplation of cairns, you keep spotting them. They appear far from the mountain summits, in fields and forests, and even residential areas. And once the idea is in your head, it can be hard to tell whether you are really viewing a cairn or your imagination is shaping one out of an accidental grouping. An arrangement of stones appeared on the dirt near my home. It seemed artful, a triangular stone sitting on a flat boulder pointing to the sky. Two small round stones resting in front of it. It's located near the spot where a man died in a hunting accident last year. Could it be a memorial? It's also near a spot where my wife encountered a fellow heading into the woods to look for some antlers. Could it be some antler hunting symbol? So when all of you have to go on are a few stones alone in the woods, there are no certainties, just intriguing possibilities. The very real possibility that this is not a purposeful arrangement at all doesn't really distract you or detract from the pleasure of imagining what could be. Though maybe I should be careful about admitting such wool gathering to just anybody. Farther from along another dirt lane, I came upon what you could fairly describe as an art installation. Crossing on a high valley, the lane passed the woodlands and series of small meadows. Cairns were spaced along the edges of the two meadows. Some were simple arrangements of 2 or 3 stones. Others were more elaborate. One, a small tower of stones. Another, an abstract, vaguely human figure. Stopping to look at the arrangements, I realized that they related to large stones deeper in the field. Those too seemed arranged as artwork to relate to the distant landscape. One thin obelisk had clearly been placed by a person, but grouping of boulders by a tree was ambiguous. If not, the other cairns, they would appear to be just left over from field clearing. But the cairns led me to think about these boulders differently and to find some artistry in the way they sit in the meadows surrounded by the mountains. Again, there are possibilities without a clear message, but in this case, the viewer could comfortably view this artistic experience. Many formal artists have made the Adirondacks home and have drawn inspiration from the landscape from their canvases and sculptures. Viewing their work, we know that it is art and consciously experience it that way. This cairn work is less clear and more elemental than that. The meadow installation is rustic and simple, doesn't show aesthetic refinement. I could sense that someone had shaped the environment through piling stones in certain ways, and my appreciation of the landscape was richer because of that. But the creator's message remained a mystery. There's a home by the field, and I could have tried asking there about the cairns, but I thought it better not to. We want to be clear about the meaning of a cairn on a rocky summit, but we can enjoy the ambiguity of rocks arranged in the Adirondack Meadow. Interesting. And so here's one from the California parks. In Yosemite National Park, service rangers have a clear message for hikers who've spotted giant piles of rocks stacked on top of one another to knock them down. This is from 2 years ago. So there are parks out there that do not want you building the cairns. They don't want you adding to cairns that are already there. You guys do you, man. Leave no traces, leave no trace. That's what I have to say. Now, if you're making some cairns for yourself, man, to lead you down some goat trail or something so you can get back, that's a different story. Knock them back down as you leave the forest. Don't build extra ones. You know what I mean? Obviously, Acadia National Park clearly has cairns there. That's what they use for markers. They don't want you building to them, or they don't want you knocking them down. And so that's about it on the cairns, I guess, man. You guys decide on what you think. This wasn't for us to say yes or no. This was just for us to find out and give some information out on cairns. A lot of people are knocking them down. I don't think it's a good idea to knock them down. You never know if someone made those for a reason, man. But, I mean, I guess. Anyways, do you have anything else, man?
No, I'm good.
All right, guys. So it's a beautiful day out. I'm looking at the sky right now. It looks like it's about to light up, man. And we don't have any shuttles today. Oh, well, we do have some shuttles today. Yesterday was pretty quiet. I can't remember. Did we have shuttles yesterday at all? All right. So we got to sit around and hang out, man. We've got some leftover lobster from the other night, man. We got some filet, dude. We're going to cook some lobsters up and, we're going to make some lobster rolls and some filet and some fried dough with some pizza stuff, man. We made some pizza yesterday, which was super good, but went to bed about 4 p.m. Watching Sons of Anarchy too, so again, but anyways, man, we got some shuttles today and we'll be working and doing our thing. So if anyone needs anything at all, man, give us a jingle. Thanks for watching. Have a great day, guys. One love. Peace.